Well, here's the deal. On the phone with me, you can see her on E's Network's Total Divas. Great show. I became addicted. I felt so weird watching it and being so into it. And also SummerSlam, which takes place Sunday, August 18th, can be seen live on pay-per-view. That starts at 8 o'clock. WWE Diva, I think this is the first time you're ever on. Super excited to have you. Big fan. Natalya, how are you?
Good. I saw your tweet about it, actually. I saw that you tweeted, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, because you don't realize, we take for granted how much social media connects us. So I was very happy that you already knew my Twitter name, and we're already connected.
That's it, man. It's what you got to do. I mean, you guys are huge with social media, and it's a cool way to have the fans ask questions and stuff. And we'll get to them a little later, a couple questions that came in. But what I want to do, I like to do, since I've never had you on before, and I've always been a big fan of yours, I mean, your whole career.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, it's great. I love what you've done, especially for women's wrestling. You're just top notch, and you should be very proud of that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So here's the first thing. Let's get into it. When did you figure out you wanted to be a wrestler?
It's no secret that I've been around, WWE my entire life. Just being born and raised in the family that that I came from. But really, for me, my dad had sheltered us from WWE for a very long time because he always just felt like it was, when he was there in the 80s, he just felt like he wanted to protect his little girls. And my dad, believe it or not, you see the scary Anvil on TV. Like, my dad was very traditional, and he always felt like he didn't really want us sometimes backstage, and he didn't, we were little kids, so he didn't want us getting in the way. And my dad was very, just felt like it was more of a man's world. And when I was growing up, there were only, the likes of Sensational Sherry and Wendy Richter and just a few women backstage. So my dad always felt like, okay, guys, this is my world. And, but we were always intrigued by it. We were always, we always got excited when we would watch, WWE on Saturdays. And, I've always been very much involved in it. But, when I first started to get involved in it, it had started to really take on a different role with women, and women became more prevalent in it. So that's really when my dad was very supportive about me. He's like, yeah, that would be, once you got women like Trish Stratus involved and, all these different, when the Divas division started being redefined by women like Trish Stratus. So that's really when I started kind of taking more of an interest in it, and I was about 17 or 18 at the time. So, but, like I said, when I was growing up, there was just only a couple women there. And I loved Sensational Sherry, by the way.
Oh, she was amazing. She was so amazing. I couldn't get enough of her. She was so good at what she did and got the most out of everything she did. I think she's better than some of the guys on the roster back then, to be honest with you.
Yeah, she's just such a character, But yeah, so, when I was growing up, we were very protected and sheltered, and we were in ballet and those little girly girl things. And then, I guess my dad had to kind of accept that it was turning into a woman's world, and women were taking over the WWE.
Well, you guys do a good job of it now. But when you were talking about this, it's 17. What year would that have been? Like, what year did you officially start your training? And I'm sure it happened officially when you started at the Hart Family Dungeon, correct?
Well, I had my first professional match in 2001.
Okay.
And I started training in 2000, but I had actually been approached about hosting a kids show called Mat Rats, and it was kind of with some young up-and-comers. And anyway, my uncles asked me, I was hosting it, and they asked me if I could do, my uncles from the dungeon, Bruce and Ross Hart, asked me if I would be able to do a run-in as the host for one of the matches. And so I had to kind of learn some moves. So they asked me to come down to the dungeon. Now, normally the dungeon, even when I was growing up, anybody that knows of the dungeon knows that it's a kind of a scary, forbidden place that, only, like, you think about guys like, my uncle coming out of the dungeon and my grandfather training people out of the dungeon, and women were not in the dungeon.
Yeah. And
so for me to go down in the dungeon and have my uncles, say, we want to help teach you how to wrestle, it was, like, unheard of, And so when I went down there, it was, like, the very first time I started learning, I was hooked. It was like watching Total Divas. You just kind of get hooked. And it basically snowballed from there. And it became, like I said, it's funny to see the evolution even of the dungeon where no women were allowed down there. And then you just start kind of breaking down these barriers. So, yeah, really in my late teens and early 2000s, I started training, and, I became obsessed with it. I absolutely fell in love with it. I felt like such a passion for it.
What do you think the best lesson that you took from the dungeon, that you learned in the dungeon was? There's probably a lot of them, but what's one that stands out?
It's really comes from my grandfather, is seeing something through. When you start something, you have to finish it. And even if you fail at it, you have to finish it. And there were so many times in the dungeon where I got knocked down. And you have to, whether you get knocked down, you have to brush yourself off and you have to keep going. And those kind of people that do that brush themselves through whatever adversity it is, when they persevere and they keep going, no matter how many times they get knocked down, those are the real success stories in life. Because when people find out how many times Natty had been rejected and how many obstacles I had and how I blew my knee out when I was wrestling in Japan, and I just had so much adversity. That's why right now, when I'm talking to you in 2013, right before, SummerSlam, I can say with total confidence that it feels really good to be where I'm at right now, because I had a dream just like everybody else. I got knocked down so many times, and like I said, what I learned in the dungeon and what I learned from my grandfather Stu Hart was to keep going. Don't give up. And there were just so many times that I wanted to throw the towel in. I can't even tell you. Well, but there was something inside of me that said, "Come on, Natty, keep going." And I really, really had that ingrained in me down in the dungeon. Just keep going.
That makes perfect sense, and I can see that throughout your career. Matter of fact, as you were talking about that, it popped in my mind, and I got to bring it up. You kind of got, I don't know if I want to call it saddled, but you had a weird character you were playing a while ago where you were farting and stuff all the time. And that's one of those things that I feel like you just, I guess, took it and made the best of it. Was that a hard thing for you to do on TV, doing that?
I think that's what life is all about, is really rolling with the punches. And for me, the way I look at, when I go to work, it's really not, for me, it's not really a job because it's really fun. The only thing that's a job is getting on a flight at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I'm not the early bird. But when it's so funny how much attention that role gave me, even though it only lasted 5 weeks. That's how long that whole little flatulence thing lasted.
Flatulence. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Flatulence. That's a lot better.
Listen, I was eating a lot of protein, okay? I was eating a lot of protein.
But you saw it through and you made it happen. I mean, you did it.
Well, really, it was just a unique, it was just something that was kind of quirky and off the wall. And I think about roles that Cameron Diaz had, like in Something About Mary, where you think, oh, my gosh, like sometimes it's just fun to be quirky. And when I was, presented with the idea, like I really didn't think anything badly of it. It was more so WWE fans and stuff that were like, why is Natalya doing this or why is Natalya doing that? Because they see me in the role of being a wrestler from the dungeon.
Yeah.
But you look at, if you look at some of the most successful people in our industry, like The Rock, for example, or John Cena, or Stephanie McMahon or Vince McMahon. They do things that are kind of outside the box, and it definitely garners attention. And really, if you look at it, it was just sort of a fun kind of, I don't even want to say whimsical, but just something that was kind of fun, quirky, and off the wall, and gave Natty some attention. And people were talking about it. And it was also a life lesson for me that no matter what I am given, no matter what is put in front of me, I'm going to make it gold. I'm going to look gorgeous doing it.
Well, that's a great way to look at things. Well, hopefully you're going to be making it gold here at SummerSlam. That's coming up on August 18th, pay-per-view, 8 o'clock. And also, like I said, you're on Total Divas on E! And before I let you go, I want to talk a little bit about Total Divas really quick. Now, it's a great show. I like watching it. Reality TV, I'm not a huge fan, but WWE's involved, so I'll watch. And it's going to be seen on there, if it hasn't already, that you have a real-life relationship with WWE's Tyson Kidd, who I am another huge fan of. And by the way, that dude had the best hair until he cut it. That was stupid. He should have cut his hair. His hair was awesome. So some companies have like a no dating policy at work. Was that ever an issue for you guys?
Never. And that's the thing, is that I've always just done everything at my own discretion, and I think that I've always just kept my relationship private, and I kept it private from my own family because I'm not the, PDA type, but, But no, WWE is great. It's just like any work environment in the sense that you're not going to go in and make out with your boyfriend at the, coffee table, But with TJ and I, we're both very, very professional. And so, a lot of people never even knew that we were together. So, but, that's the thing, is that it's all about professionalism. And in WWE, I take my career very seriously. So saved the headlocks for the car rides home.
There you go.
So.
I like it. I like it. Well, last question about that with him. I mean, you guys, I think you were in developmental, which, by the way, the training facility you guys have now is beautiful. I saw pictures of it.
Oh, I know. It's like a resort.
It is. When you were there, though, I think you spent time maybe in Deep South and Florida. I'm not sure, but I think that you got called up to the main roster before he did. Can you explain the day, like how that happened? Like, can you set the scene? I mean, that's got to be a big day for you to get called up for the main roster.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny because both of us have had, like, TJ actually got hired by WWE before I did.
Okay.
Which was, being a girl, I was like crying, and I was like, I'm never going to get hired. And then like 3 months later, I got hired, and I was like, oh my gosh. And, but yeah, no, it was exciting. Like, it's, I couldn't even breathe when I got down to developmental. Like, I was talking to one of the new WWE divas. She's in developmental right now, and we were just chatting, and she has a little bit of wrestling experience. And I remember when I first got down to developmental, I was like, I was so starstruck that I had actually gotten hired by WWE that I felt like I didn't even know how to wrestle. I was like, that was just the first day, but I was like, it was such an amazing experience just to get hired that I was like, I was just frozen. And then once I kind of got into the groove at, in their developmental program, and then I got hired and basically called up to SmackDown, called up onto the main roster in 2008. It was like another surreal moment where I was like, I don't even know if this is happening. You kind of feel like you're floating. And then that same thing happened, when I won the Divas Championship. And then the same thing happened when I got picked to do Total Divas. It's just very, very surreal.
A lot of very cool, like, flashpoints in your career. I mean, I really feel like you have a lot of cool, I call them flashpoints, the moments where just things happen and you feel great about them. And
I have so many of those in WWE. And I'm, even with SummerSlam coming up and Total Divas being really hot right now, it's SummerSlam's August 18th, and I feel like there might be a flashpoint for me there. You never know.
Do you know what you're doing at SummerSlam yet? Any idea?
I don't know, but I just know that there's all sorts of surprises, and it's a busy week for us, too, because we have a lot of media and a lot of appearances, and I'm hosting our SummerSlam kickoff party, and I'm doing a ton of different events and press and charity with E and with WWE, and there's a lot of exciting things happening and a couple surprises, so I won't reveal too much, but I'm very excited.
Well, yeah, definitely, because SummerSlam is like the WrestleMania of the summer in my estimation. I think that that's what you could call it. That's like summertime's WrestleMania. So big things always happen at SummerSlam. And before I let you go, Natalya, I have to ask you a social media question because there's certain dudes out there that want to know this because I got this about 3 times in my inbox here at the radio station. Back in the Attitude Era, a lot of the divas were posing for Playboy. I probably already know the answer to this. Would that ever be one of your aspirations?
Well, for me, I'm going to do a cat fancy photo shoot with my cat Gizmo.
Oh, man.
We were really, really trying to pump Gizmo up on the show. His role is being introduced in Total Divas, so I just want everyone to get excited about our cat fancy cover.
That's not the legacy you want to leave anyway. You're too good in the ring and stuff like that.
Well, I have to say, and this isn't against anyone that's ever done anything like that, but I don't know. I'm Stu Hart's granddaughter, and I have a very, very big legacy to uphold. And I just, that's never really been my cup of tea. But like I said, big, big things coming for Gizmo. Stay tuned for more on Total Divas. But yeah, no, it's not really my thing.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I had to ask that though because you had about 4 or 5 different things. That's got to be a cool feeling for people to want to see that. I guess I don't know, but all right. Well, here's the deal. You talk legacy, and you say Stu Hart's granddaughter, and I agree. And with the Harts, legacy is huge in the wrestling world. Before I let you go, what would Natalya's legacy? What would you like it to be when you wrap up your career one day in the WWE?
It's funny. I had a talk a long time ago with Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman, we had a very kind of candid discussion one time backstage, and he had said something to me that was very inspiring, and he said, one day you're going to be the first female from the Hart family in the Hall of Fame. And I thought, like, it was very, I don't know, it was just very, like, it really made me realize that, like, my family is such a special family in WWE, and I am the first female in my family representing us. And that really is a legacy that I would love to leave behind, is somebody that, I'm Stu Hart's granddaughter, and my grandfather is, such a role model in my life. Even though he's been, gone for a long time, he's such a role model in my everyday life. And if I could only do half as much as my grandfather did, and not just inside the ring, but a lot of the things that my grandfather did for charity and stuff, like the trip I did to Rwanda for the United Nations, and doing stuff with WWE's, Be a Star campaign, where we talk to kids about why it's important to not bully each other, and even just doing stuff, with our new partner, Special Olympics. I want to make a difference, and like I said, it's not just about what I do in the ring. And that's really the legacy that I want to leave behind, kind of a humanitarian, different humanitarian causes. But obviously, I want to leave my mark in the ring and really uphold my family's, name. But, one day I will be in the Hall of Fame. And like I said, it was nice that Paul Heyman kind of gave me that encouragement, because he's very, he's just very sharp. But that's really what I want to do. And like I said, it will be more than just about me in a wrestling ring. It'll be about me, like I said, upholding my family's legacy.
Natalya, thank you so much for coming on. I just got to say, after you just said all that stuff, you're excellent in the ring. You're excellent in front of the camera when you speak to the camera. You're excellent when you do your stand-ups in front of the camera. And you know what? You're even more... This is more important to me, an excellent person, by what you just said, because most people say, I want to win all the titles. You're talking about doing good things for people, and that's what I think at the bottom of it, that's what WWE does for the community. And I think SummerSlam is going to be huge. Sunday, August 18th. You can see it live on pay-per-view, 8 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do, the surprises that are going to be there, and I thank you for visiting with me. It's been a pleasure, and just keep doing what you're doing, because I love watching you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.